You're a crowd. She never sits. She always walks the walls.
How are you?
Hey,
How are you?
sit down.
You want if I stay with you? Yes.
All right.
Her name sit next to you.
Bother you guys.
I was gonna ask when was the last time he was actually there?
And on that comment, well, the statement from coach and start off from there.
Gosh, I thought I mentally prepared myself to at least try to keep my emotions under control, and then walking into this, I'm not sure it's going to work. But I appreciate so many folks coming out. It's great to see friends, bunch of my former and current players, the staff and family. I wasn't really sure. I didn't spend a whole lot of time, thinking about this. Obviously, I knew that at some point, it would happen. I guess, December 20th kind of changed stuff. And it gave me an opportunity to, think about how grateful I am, and what really matters. And I've been so fortunate. 41 years, and that's a long time. But the number of people that I've had the pleasure, the privilege of being associated with over all of those years is just amazing. All of the friends, the administrators, the coaches, the players, and on and on. I feel like I'm a really a really lucky person. I've been extremely blessed and it's something that I don't and I haven't taken for granted. The older I got, hopefully the smarter I got. I still liked winning. I still hated losing, but more than anything, the relationships, the friendships, uh, the being part of a team is something that is really, really special. And it's something that, you don't have to be in sports. It's something that, I wish for my own children, my grandkids, and really for everybody that you're able to experience that joy to be part of something bigger than you. And in that way, also, I've been very, 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 very lucky. There's so many people uh, that I want to thank, and I'll get around to it eventually. I'm gonna have a lot of time on my hands. Um, but two in particular, today that I want to single out uh, are President Hemphill and my friend and boss Wood Selig. Um, I can't imagine having better bosses than those two guys. Supportive, understanding, uh, willing to listen, to serve as a sounding board. Uh, there's plenty of times I've been with Wood, and I know it's hard for some of you that work with him to understand or to think about, but where he doesn't say anything, he just kind of sits there and listens. Uh, and even as far as the way everything has gone down today, um, uh, thank you all both very, very much. I appreciate everything that you've done for me, everything that you continue to do for Old Dominion and all of us. There's another group in here that kind of has been dealt an unusual and not ideal hand, and that's the coaching staff. Um, I'm and I've told them I'm trying trying not to make eye contact with them. Um, the it hadn't been easy. It hadn't been easy for the players. Hadn't been easy for the staff. Um, and I know that these guys have done a great job. Um, in athletics, it's a competition, so you keep score. And the score hasn't always been on our side, but I do think there's alternative ways of looking at things. And if you look at how they've poured themselves into this team, this university, since I had to step away, I think the job that they have done is remarkable. So I do want to thank Kieran and Crisco and Chris Talagani, Drew Lakey, Jordan Brooks, Jamal's back there. Uh, thank you all so much for uh, doing what you've done in a very, very difficult situation. As far as the retirement, uh, I think it's just very, very simple. It's time. When I've thought about it, there's still a part of me, and not an insignificant part, that wants to coach. There's nothing more that I would like to do than to come back another year and kind of fix things, to go out on a on a different note, so to speak. Um, but there's the other side. you know, from a health perspective, I'm doing great. I'm not retiring because my health is bad. My health is good. I've been a good patient. I followed Danae's orders. Um, you know, I'm eating healthier than I have maybe in my entire life. I should, you know, take take stock in a salad company or something. But you know, I'm walking a lot. I'm getting out. I'm doing hopefully all the right things, and I feel great. But I think a big part of the feeling great is also not having that stress that I've had for 41 years as a coach, 32 as a head coach. And believe me, it's different not being in that pressure cooker. And so while I thought, well, you know, I'm feeling great, you know, maybe one more year. The more I thought about it, you know, there's a lot of things to look forward to. And I did want to, you know, prioritize my family, my health, um, and happiness. I think being happy is really underrated. Um, so you know, I came to the conclusion, and you know, I know for you know, for the team, maybe this isn't uh, the ideal timing, but you know, really two things kind of factored in. One, you know, I just felt like it'd be dishonest or disingenuous to know that I was going to step away and you know to not go ahead and do it. Um, you know, people in this community have been so uh, just so kind with their well wishes and their care. And you know, if I knew I wasn't coming back, I don't know. That would just been tough. And then the other thing is, you know, these two guys have a job of finding the next person. If you know, if by doing it today, you know, they can get, I don't know, jump start, but and find that right guy. And I want them to find that right guy. There's no doubt that uh, you know, uh, and I'm saying them. You know, it's we, and you know, I want to make sure that you know that we're all doing everything we can for the next person. You know, I followed a great coach with Blaine, and then you know, I'm excited about whoever that next person is, and I want them and Old Dominion uh, to to do great, and I know that's what will happen. Um, I'm just you know, I'm, uh, I'm overwhelmed by all of this, and you know, my phone's been ringing off the hook, or you know, the texts and everything, and that is tremendously gratifying to hear from people 20, 30, 40 years ago, people that I just met this year. It's you know, it's really special. Uh, I'm so appreciative of everything that's gone on. And you know, I've got nothing but fond memories. It is tough. It's, as you can tell, it's emotional, but it's 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 the right thing. It's the right time, and I feel very good about my decision. You want to questions?
Totally your decision.
Well, she factored in a little bit. Yeah, it was, you know, it was something that, you know, and the way I approach things, you know, I don't look too far ahead. So after December 20th, you know, I had a little bit of time, and then I thought about it, and okay, I decided I was going to step away. I didn't think at that time, I wasn't thinking too far in the future. I was thinking kind of right now. And then, you know, after a few weeks of, you know, doing that's about the time when I started thinking about it, and you know, kind of arguing with myself, you know, the left shoulder, right shoulder, and going back and forth. And then I before I was 100%, but definitely knew which way I was leaning. I talked to Wood and and told him. We had discussions, and ultimately just kind of, I it kind of was a family decision, but in my own mind, it was time. I think I knew what the family wanted, but I had to be on board with that.
You've been emotional here in this setting. What was it like?
We met with the team this morning at 9 o'clock. Um, it was in between. One of our guys had an 8 o'clock class, so we couldn't do it any earlier. And wasn't unemotional, but it, I came into it. What was really hard was when I had to tell them that I wasn't going to finish the season. That was, I felt like, I know I wasn't, but I felt like I was abandoning them. And it's always been about the team. And I had to, at that time, I had to think about myself. And that was really, really hard and very emotional. I, at times, had a hard time, getting words out. So there was certainly some emotion today, but it wasn't anywhere near that. Um, and met with the staff last night, and besides just saying, I'm going to retire, I wanted to let the players know that I care about them, I love them. Just because I retire doesn't mean that I'm not interested in their lives and in their development anymore. With the staff, I wanted to make sure that they knew that how appreciative I was. And so there's some emotion in that, but I think I'm just good with the decision, and so there is emotion. I don't know how much sadness there is.
You and Wood discuss perhaps a future role for you here.
Not really. I think there probably we will have some discussions, but it's nothing that I have no idea right now kind of what path I want to go down. I know I'm not really interested in a high pressure job. I'm not looking for stepping from one to another. Um, if anything, I want to do something that can impact people in a positive way. I've really, really, really enjoyed my time with Samaritan's Feet and the Coaches versus Cancer and Troops First. Is there some kind of role in something like that? I don't know, but that'll be the next step. I haven't looked too far. I know that there's a, a trip to northern Kentucky to visit my mom. That's in the immediate future. There's some trips down to Charlottesville to hang out and not making it an up and back trip to see Megan and Madison and the grandkids. But beyond that, I don't have a whole lot of plans.
Coach, you mentioned professionally you don't know. You just talked about some personal plans there, but are there any other things that they're looking forward to personally, maybe making up for some lost time when you were involved in coaching that you're going to make some time?
I don't really have a bucket list of it. That's the problem, and I've realized this. I'm so boring. I mean, I've got no hobbies, right? Unless you can call reading a hobby. I mean, I love to read, but you can only read and walk but so many hours in the day. So I'm going to have to figure out something. But I don't really have any hobbies. I don't have a bucket list, so to speak. So there's nothing that comes to mind immediately. Scott, I would say, get up and see more Nationals games this year because I'll have an opportunity. But it's almost like they're not even trying. But I do love, I do love getting to the ballpark. So things like that. But there's nothing that I can think of right now. Not that one thing.
Coach, 41 years, and you have players of current and past in here. Simply put, it's been a long journey. What does basketball mean to you?
I was thinking this morning, and I wasn't going to say what came to mind because Jason Wade would think it was just another corny joke. But back when I was much younger, I remember there was a skit in Saturday Night when the guy said baseball's been very, very good to me, and it has. Basketball's has been awesome to me. I've already kind of touched on the relationships, the friendships, but the opportunities. The opportunities to travel. Now, I don't think I have any desire to go back to Hawaii because this last trip, that was my 8th trip, and they all were connected one way or another with basketball. I've been to the Caribbean, I've been to a bunch of countries in Europe, and the Middle East, and basketball has allowed me to live a life that this young kid in Owensboro, Kentucky, I can guarantee you I wasn't thinking in those terms. So without getting too much, and Kieran will laugh, but there was the movie The River back a while ago, and I've likened basketball is being my river, and that's where our lives, not just mine, but our families, have kind of revolved around this game, and it's been really, really wonderful to me and my family.
Coach, Saturday night was, emotional for you. Did that provide any closure and conviction that, this was the right decision?
No, it was very emotional, obviously, to say goodbye, in a sense, to Ty and Jason, and especially Jason. It's been well documented, everything that he's gone through. And I can't remember one time. I can remember times when he was down. I can't remember one time when he complained. Takes a special person, a tough person to go through what he's gone through and to come out the other end. And it's continued to amaze me, right? Because just a couple of years ago, just the fact that he was back out there, right? I'm thinking, okay, this is a win. And he keeps pushing. And then it's another step and another step. So to see where he is, and not to push or to put pressure on him, but I've got my fingers crossed, and he is thinking in terms of coaching as a profession. Man, what an example! You talk about impacting and being able to help people, help young men. So it was like I had to be there. I mean, I wanted to be there. I asked KD if I didn't want to be a distraction. I asked him if it was okay. I talked to Wood after that, and they both gave me the thumbs up. And so I was planning on being there. The thing that sealed it was Friday during the day. Jay called me up and asked me if I was going to be there. And I said, "You're damn right." So it was a special night. Now, I think the emotion took on even more for me, knowing that today was happening too. when Danae and I walked down the back hallway, players were out on the court, warming up, and KD was in the locker room, and it was just the two of us. And man, it just hit me. I wasn't expecting it. So, that added too, I think. But I don't think it gave me any more closure or anything like that.
Jeff, you mentioned earlier your gratitude for your staff. How helpful was it that so many of them have been around you for so long? Guys, not like these are
Yeah. I think it was very, very helpful. Number one, obviously I wanted to be there and all that, but I trusted them, right? I knew that not only did they have my back, they had one another's back. It's a group, regardless, that I never had to worry about guys being in the office or putting in the time or any of that. So the fact, KD and I have been together for as long as we have. Obviously, Jamal, going back to when he was, I'm gonna call you precocious, freshman out of Jamaica, Queens, and knowing one another since then, and Crisco, gosh, 11 years, 11 years, and Drew's been around, Chris Talagani and Jordan are kind of the newcomers, but they've been part of it for a couple of years. So I wasn't worried. I knew that we were in good hands in terms of coaching the team and at least trying to do the things that needed to be done.
To go back to your relationship with Jason, you told us after you guys had the conversation about not mentioning, told you, I got your back. Everything is good. Does that validate why you on what you do on the court?
Absolutely, and Jay obviously is a great example. But in the back of the room, Cornell Parker, one of Norfolk's finest, that played for me at UVA and junior borough. I love those guys, and I truly, value their our relationship. I'm happy Chauncey's here. Chauncey's the youngster in the bunch, and Chauncey's only been here, I guess about two years, but I've got so much respect for him as well, and I think those connections, as I said earlier, the older I got, the more I realized that's what. Look, you got to win, right? You got to win. You can have all the relationships what you want, and if you're losing, the ADs, it's a business. But within the business, that's really something really special. And I forgot Drew Lakey is not just on the staff; he's also a former player too. So,
Coach, congratulations on a great career. You talk a little bit about that realization as you grew through your career. I'm wondering, what are some other big differences between the man and the coach that was first starting out in this business and the man and the coach now?
And it would be really hard, I think, for Jason and Chauncey to absorb or believe this, but Junior Burrow would tell you that I've really mellowed. And now he comes by that pretty honestly, because he was the one, if there ever was one guy, because it didn't matter. He didn't listen to me if I cursed. He didn't listen to me if I yelled. He didn't listen to me no matter what. So, it didn't have any bearing on him at all. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. What's the question again?
That was one of them, but the other big differences, I mean, person first starting out.
Oh,
person after.
well, I think it's really funny. I do remember, and I was 29, 30. I just turned 30 years old when my first year as head coach at Virginia. And, I was determined to, to be calm, cool, and collective. And certainly for that first year, I think I was, to the point where there was in the Richmond Times-Dispatch, there was a caricature done of, there's a cartoon. Jeff Jones in a hurricane, Jeff Jones in a close game, Jeff Jones in, all kinds of different situations. And the facial expression was all the same. That was very much put on. And I remember after that season, some of it wasn't any of my players, but some of my former teammates kind of said, what's that all about? You need to be yourself. And so that's when, I decided, I guess not decided, but I became the raging lunatic and so I think, that changed. And with young coaches, and I've, talked with our staff and others that, are able to go on. As coaches, you've got to find your voice, whatever that may be. Everybody doesn't coach the same. You can't try to be something that you're not. And one thing that I've always tried to be, we talked about this, is authentic. I'm not putting on some facade. It's kind of what you see is what you get. And for me as that young coach, I was, even though it was at the ACC level, I needed to find what that was. I do think, I mean, gosh, I sure hope I know I'm a better coach now than I was when I was 30 years old. I hope I'm smarter. I always kind of chuckle when people ask, would you do anything over? And they say, I wouldn't do anything. It helped me. Gosh, there's so many things. I mean, if we had another 2 hours, I could probably list, all the mistakes or things I'd like to do. But you learn from mistakes. You learn from adversity, and those are all lessons that we try to teach the team. But it's also a lesson I think for me, for coaches in general, is we don't have all the answers, and sometimes we screw up, and when we do, you just want to be better, own up to them and be better.
Jeff, as a coach's son, president, coaches association, after 41 years in this business, college basketball is optimistic, pessimistic.
Without getting into specifics, because I think that would be for another day, I'm really scared. I don't know what's the goal. What are we trying to do? At a time where just I mean, money, all about money, and it's easy. You talk about NIL or whatever, and we want to point out the players. Well, conference realignment, it's a money grab. It is what it is. And I don't know how we criticize the student athletes when we're doing stuff that's the same thing. And can we ever get to a point again where the greater good, where what is right is valued more than what brings in more cash? The other thing, and I'm getting up on a soapbox, but you're in locker rooms, you talk to coaches and athletes, and when was the last time we heard anybody really talk about education? We do kind of peripherally talk about graduation, talk about getting the diploma. Well, I don't know about you, James Madison, right? You know, at UVA, there was so much more that went into my college education than simply getting a damn piece of paper. And if we're going to set the bar that low and say, you know, I, what does a degree mean if you're not, you know, if education isn't really important? And you know, I think we as a society, I mean, I don't think it's athletic departments, you know, as a society, we don't value education the way that we should. You know, and I'm not pointing the finger at one person or one group. I'm just saying I think it's a shame. You know, there is a value to that. Um, and so I think of those two things when I say it's scary. Uh, I'm afraid of where it is that we're going. I have no idea what direction we're going, but it just seems like it's just more and more and more and more about money and less and less and less about it.
Going to be a voice, hear the future, or is
I don't know that you know, there's a difference between being a voice and then actually, you know, it's a fight. I don't know that I'm ready for a fight, you know. um, uh, and because it's got to come down to more than words, you know. I mean, there has to be things, uh, actions taken, you know. Actions speak louder than words. uh, the hard thing, because I'm not, you know, look, I criticize the NCAA when they deserve it, but I think oftentimes they're criticized just for everything, right? And um, sometimes the NCAA can't, lawsuits. You know, there's all these lawsuits, and I'm a big law and order guy, but it's hard for, you know, the NCAA to implement some of these things that are the right things. But if the courts say that it's illegal, so I don't know the solutions. I just know that it does frighten me moving forward.
College coaching has changed a lot. Does that have anything to do with this decision?
Well, first, so I think there's always been an evolution, right? In the 41 years, 30, 32 is the head coach. You know, there's always an evolution. So coaching is always changing, right? The rules change and society change. You know, there's always those kind of things. But I think because of NIL, because of the transfer portal and some of the other issues that we're facing now, the changes have been coming fast and furious, right? And so that's it's like they're extremes, and so it doesn't give you time to adjust the way maybe in the past that you could as a coach. Specifically for me, I mean, I'd lie if I said that they didn't play a role. I mean, uh, is it a major factor? No. I mean, there's other things that factored in, you know, a lot more. But you know, dealing with, you know, things, dealing with changes, the transfer portal, and I'm not I'm not a believer in, well, you know, players should never transfer. Right? That's silly. I mean, you know, if it's not a good situation for you, no matter what, you know, looking for a new job, looking for a new, but what gets lost, and the one voice I've heard really espouse this is Tom Izzo, because he's not afraid to be a contrarian. Um, is, you know, at some point, you know, do we need to save the kids, the young people from themselves? I know my kids would tell you growing up, they didn't get to do everything that they wanted. And after the fact, you know, sometimes, you know, they say, you were right, you know. And I think by, you know, if people, if the young people are running from adversity or running from, you know, whatever, rather than facing adversity and finding a way to work through it, right? I think they get stronger. Um, you know, was it Nietzsche? You know, that which does not destroy us only serves to make us stronger. Um, I believe that. Um, and so uh, you know, those things, those issues are things that I'll say complicate the coaching profession now. What a coach, the different hats that a coach has to wear now um, are far more than what when I started when I was 29 years old at UVA. It's not even close. And I do remember at the end of that year, you know, being with Coach Holland and saying, "Look, it seems like, you know, head coaching. I've got 1,000 different brush fires going, and I've got no chance of putting them out. All I really do is make sure that those brush fires don't turn into raging infernos." You know, that was then. That was in what, 90? You know, so however many years later, you have to deal with even more. Um, so, but having said that, and I was joking with Wood earlier today, and President Hemphill, um, you know, coaching it's better than working for a living. That's what I've always said. You know, it's hard, but it's great. And you know, to kind of circle back, I'm really lucky.
Coach, Monarch Nation leads the conference in attendance again this year. We witnessed that Saturday night. Do you have a message for ODU fans?
They're the best. I mean, it's you know, it's not real complicated. Um, you know, think about a mid-major, you know, struggling the way we are this year, and leading the conference. You know, it's not like there's a bunch of little schools in our league. I mean, you know, James Madison's got a great arena, and you know, they got a bunch of students and everything, and you know, Marshall and others, and for us to be there, I think says a lot about our fans' commitment, about their love for the program, but probably more the love for the institution. And it's a really special group. You know, we've been so I don't know. We love living here. We love being part of the community, part of the neighborhood, part of the family, and I think that's a big part. We're not going anywhere. I mean, I'm retiring. I'm not going to coach anymore, but you know, we're still going to be a you know, a part of this community, and excited to do so.
What do you do with all the basketball knowledge?
You know, I'm sure there'll be ways of sharing, if you will. You know, I've talked with Tim Floyd, coached a lot of different places, but and Kermit Davis, who was at Middle Tennessee for a bunch of years. We've become very close the last couple of years that we traveled to Kuwait this summer together. Dave Odom and others. We've kind of joked around and talked about, you know, can we do a really good clinic for retired coaches, you know, or of retired coaches.
Super group.
You know, and again, you know, we don't have a whole lot of other stuff to do. So Cliff Ellis, you know, would be another. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can go watch Cornell and juniors teams. Both of them won their conference championships this week. So proud of those guys.
You seem Saturday night. You seem to get especially emotional after you hug the athletic trainer. Is there anything to read into that?
No, that I think Jason was the first, because we came down the hallway,
Yeah.
and when I finally poked our head out, he was the first person I think that I saw. Not to, you know, downplay that at all, but no, there wasn't. There's not a medical thing. The very, very last thing, I do, I guess as they say, save the best for last. I want to publicly thank Danae for being my person. The coach's wife has a really, really tough job. And I couldn't have done it without. And then last thing, no more Coach Jones. Now it's Pop. Thank you.